Welcome to this week's Witnessing Steward, a testimony of a member of the Plymouth Church in Framingham, an open and affirming congregation in the United Church of Christ. Give extravagantly, and do so without a grudging heart. Then, because of this, the Holy One your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. Deuteronomy 15:10.
Nearly 4 years ago now, Ernie and I first heard about Plymouth after reading an article in the Globe about a sermon Greg gave following the election of Donald Trump. I'm sure many of you remember that sermon and the feelings it invoked. At that time, Plymouth experienced what many other churches, schools, organizations, communities, and even our own families were experiencing. That is, you found yourselves on either side of a great divide that seemed as if there was no clear way to ever bridge that chasm again. But then you did something that no one else was doing. You sat down together and talked it over. You didn't shout. You didn't point fingers at one another. Instead, you listened. It was at once a simple and an elegant way to resolve a conflict that had threatened to break up your church, your family. So it wasn't the sermon necessarily, although if I had been there that day, I would have stood up and shouted, "Amen." Instead, it was a sincere attempt to make sure that all voices were heard and that all wounds were healed that convinced both Ernie and me to drop by that next Sunday. And what we found when we entered the doors was a welcoming environment, an awesome sermon, like minds, interesting stories, and a warmth that we hadn't felt in decades. And when we joined that spring, it was for the first time we had become church members in nearly 30 years. Our experiences here made us want to give back to this church community in some tangible way, and pledging is just one way we are able to do that. It not only allows us to turn on the lights and pay for salaries, it also allows us to offer needed supplies to local shelters, deliver food to food insecure families whose school-aged children are part of the free lunch program, finding green solutions to our energy needs, learning ways to achieve social and racial justice, sinking wells and building a health clinic in Africa, and so many, many other needs and goals. But Ernie and I represent just one pledge. Our meager contribution probably wouldn't go very far on its own. But by joining with yours, by putting our hands to it like the verse says, together and with God's help, we can do wonders.